The Stone Ape theory, not theory, hypothesis, most famously attributed to Terence McKenna, is an absolutely fascinating attempt at explaining a period in human evolution we're not entirely sure what happened. There are two major gaps in the human evolutionary process. One around 2 million to 700,000 years ago, where Homo erectus, our closest relative prior, their brains doubled in size, and then a little while after that, and by a little while in prehistoric ages, that's quite a few 100,000 years, a little while, I don't have the dates, but the Homo sapien, us, our brains tripled in size, and there's no sort of scientifically decided reason for this. We haven't been able to say, yeah, that's why that happened. We haven't, come to a conclusion on that. So it's one of those scientific questions that's still open to debate. And Terence McKenna, wonderful speaker with some very interesting things to say, comes and proposes a sort of pondered on before but treated as outlandish idea, and still to this day somewhat by some people, the stoned monkey hypothesis, or the stoned ape hypothesis, which is the idea that during these periods, the pre-human, pre-Homo sapien species began to add psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms, shrooms, psychedelic plants to their diet as a sort of large part of it, or as some kind of staple to it, and in consuming them on a semi-regular basis, just because, these mushrooms, these fungi, they develop the psychedelic aspects as repellents for bugs. Bugs won't want to eat them, but larger animals might still, and that's where the monkey might stumble upon a trippy fungi or a trippy mushroom and eat it. And if they continue to grow rapidly in a same area, it's going to become a staple of an animal's diet when it becomes readily available. And we kind of say this is a hypothesis that could explain the dawn of consciousness and humans coming about as they are, because psychedelics do have that mind opening, that world changing view where you are able to see something and see its use. They say that maybe the synesthesia, which is your senses becoming merged, you are able to hear what you can see, may have allowed us to become more able at recognizing predators and thus less likely to die, because we can hear something and know that's something that's going to kill us, we should hide, or we can recognize something as a usable tool, whereas prior to that we would have seen that and not made the association. And then there's also the connected aspect. Could society have stemmed from these large groups of not yet human but humanistic animals consuming these large amounts of psychedelics and then gaining this connected feeling, this interconnected but also this connected, I love the world, I love everyone type thing, and thus they tend to be more grouped together, they tend to bond more together, and they tend to progress together, and hence sort of the first city-states, the first societies coming about. Could humans have gone from being lone apes to human groups through group bonding sessions on psilocybin mushrooms? It's entirely possible, and it does make sense because we know that at these periods there most probably would have been these, either these plants or relatives of these plants with the same effect, and some of these animals would have just eaten anything and then thus progressed. And knowing the effects and the studied, impact of mass use of psychedelics, it does sound like the trail of consequence coming from Monkey Man to Man would be sort of that. You have the dawn of consciousness, you have the ability to recognize and to, think critically and logically, and then you have, the grouping aspect, the bonding, the society, the connectedness. Could this, and also religion, stem around? Still, in human society, we have, in Latin America, we have the ayahuasca religions where they praise it. What if religion stems from this as well? You know, it's entirely possible, and it's absolutely fascinating. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was ever confirmed to be, you know, the truth of those two major